Going live. All right, we're going live, and I see a number of people have joined already. Let's see, Dr. Dan says, hello, David. Of all the hundreds of possible choices found online, what is the best way to keep RF from coming back into the shack on the antenna feed line? A so-called choke balun at the antenna seems to be the best, and that works for coax. If you have a ladder line, you might bring that to a balun. Before you come into the house, the balun will help remove, as long as that balun is grounded, should help remove the stuff on the outside of the antenna feed line. The other thing that can really help is bringing all of your cables to lightning arresters at the ground line, because that will ground out any stuff coming down the feed line. Will really help. Though there's lots of things that we can do there. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG says, hello Dave, greetings from South Dakota, where we have a heat index of 101 degrees today. Well, I was on vacation last week. I'll tell you a little bit about that later, but Salt Lake City was 100 degrees temperature-wise. It was very, very dry, which was a mitigating factor, but boy, was it hot. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, let's see. We've got Anthony Becerra helping with an answer to Dr. Dan's question. Thank you for that. Mike Oswald from AA7MO in Kirkland, Washington. Kirkland, Washington. Kirkland is the house brand for Costco, I think. Does that have anything to do with the town? I don't know. Let's see. Greetings from Australia from Jim Norrish. Hello there. And it would be morning tomorrow, Saturday, over there. Okay, we've got John Hummel Newell, VE5, JHN from Canada, Joe Mercado, KG7JM, and Steve Ash says hi. James, KI5OEB, says hello. And I'm told that my microphone is really quiet. Okay, it is practically at the max. It is at the max. Okay, so let me see if I can find something here where I can set the microphone. Oh, they've changed Windows 10. They've taken all the good features away. And they're more about access and stuff like that, where what I want to do is get the old sound panel, which allows me to, let's go down here to, no, Cortana, I don't want that. Control panel. At least that app is still somewhat available. When we go to sound, and let's see, we're using recording microphone HD Pro webcam C920. Okay, so that seems to be what is the, let's see if we can turn it up here. Listen, levels. How about if we, oh yeah, that makes a big difference. Okay, now it's going up into the red. Tell me if that's okay, if I ended up over modulating. I'll leave that little window up over here so that we can play with that if we need to. All right, I hope that helps. Okay, I can't close that till I close this other one. Oh, don't we love Windows? No, we don't love Windows. Okay. Let's see. Good evening to all from New Hampshire, from Peter. Greg Lopez, KT4RAM, says, greetings from way down upon the Suwannee River, down in the south. Jim Norrish from VK2 JKN in Australia. Ross Appleby is VK1RA. My goodness, we have a lot of Aussies today. That's great. Heat index of 99 with 92 Fahrenheit. I've heard that in parts of the East Coast it has gotten extraordinarily warm, and it 100 degrees with lower humidity is nowhere near as bad as 90 degrees with very high humidity. So I used to live in Tampa, Florida when I was in the Air Force, and also was in Mississippi, in Biloxi, in the Air Force. And yeah, it can get really warm down there. Let's see, Friday morning in Australia, 10:47 hours. And K6 SDW, congrats to Ask Dave. Yes, I'll tell you a little bit about that. I can finally talk about it. How is the flying going? It's going pretty well, actually. And see, Sound Find here. Forgot about the show, but made it before the end, and we just got started. Kirkland is a suburb of Seattle. Audio's fine there. Okay, I will go ahead and close those windows. And Kirkland was the home office of Costco for several years, just a half mile from my QTH. Audio's fine, better, yeah. Okay, bit hot now on the audio. Let me just knock it back just a tiny bit there. Okay, and we'll see if we can always go back. Congratulations on the new QST column. Oh, yeah, I've got to tell you about that when we get to the official start of the hour at 7 o'clock. I can finally tell people about what's going on. It's been in the works since January. Punta Gorda, Florida, Southwest Florida. Southwest, okay. And I was in Tampa for quite a number of years in the Air Force, 3.5. Been reading antenna books trying to make a KE0OG 4 to 5 element. Are the distances between elements as important as lengths of elements? Yes, they are. There is been, about 20 years ago, a resurgence in design interest in the KE0OG, or KE0OG, as it's more technically called, as it's two Japanese professors from the 1920s who were deeply involved in radio work and invented what we know today as the KE0OG. And for many years, it was always thought that you would evenly space the elements. And finally, with some good computer analysis, people started moving the elements around a little bit and discovered that you can really enhance the performance of a KE0OG if you get those elements kind of a little bit different than just uniform spacing. You look at the old antennas that have been around, like the not Cushcraft, is it Cushcraft? The A3 KE0OG, it's a 3-element KE0OG with even spacing. But now the new ones do not have even spacing. The reflectors are closer and so on. The distances are a little bit different. Audio too hot. Clock ticking audible again. Yeah, well, the clock is my prize clock here. I'll turn down just a little bit. Yeah, there are a number of programs for designs. You shouldn't have to design your own antenna, although people do, of course. But you can buy the pieces for your antenna at DX Engineering. And in fact, if you really look through the catalog to see what DX Engineering has been selling the longest, it's been antenna components. The aluminum poles, the various brackets and everything that holds things together and so on. Antenna work, and that's where the term DX Engineering comes from. DX Engineering is actually part of a sports car establishment that sells parts and pieces for sports cars, hot rods, things like that. And the guy became a ham, and since he had all the infrastructure needed to sell ham radio equipment, warehousing, inventory systems, ordering systems, the financial systems, and so on, it was just like falling off a log to start selling ham radio equipment too. And he does that under the name DX Engineering. At first, when he was open, it was really for the DX aficionados, so they'd have all the antenna parts and things like that. They have broadened greatly over the last several years to be basically a full-service ham radio store, and you can get just about anything you need there. They've got unmatched inventory. Question about the solar eclipse today, does that affect propagation? Absolutely it does. But you would need to have been on the air during the actual eclipse. Because what would happen in the area where there is an eclipse, you would see the D layer diminish. You would see the F1 and F2 layers start to sort of merge. But that wouldn't happen fully before the eclipse went on by. The spot on the Earth where you see the shadow of the sun moves across the planet at a couple 100 miles an hour. So there was a total eclipse here that went across the U.S. what, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they had some sort of a event to help hams measure the impact on the ionosphere from the eclipse, and there were definitely measurable impacts. Scott Machok, KD8NPJ, passed his extra exam on Saturday. Congratulations, Scott. And now the next step, you've got one more test to pass, and that's to become a VE. So, okay, says I'm getting a little bit of conflicting reports on the audio. It seems to be staying in the yellow, occasionally going up into the red. If it is overdriving, I can back that off a little bit. Hi, Dave from Monticello, Utah. I was just in Utah. In fact, last Thursday I was supposed to hold the live stream, and that didn't work out. So, sorry about that. We were in a trailer in a very large KOA in Salt Lake, all sharing the internet and so on. So, and let's see, the Pete Singleton says hi from Airstrip 1. Arthur Peterson is in Wasilla, Alaska. If that were Spanish, that'd be Wasilla, Alaska. And Jimmy Jones is in Alabama. James says good evening from Commerce, Michigan. Greetings from southern Maine. And congratulations on having your compass teardown video make the Hackaday blog. Really? I'll have to look at that. Been in the low 90s here. Can you recommend a broadband filtering system for AC/DC for common modes with ferrites and capacitors? Where is it up here? Do I still have it up here? MFJ makes a product that basically is a piece of coax with a gazillion ferrite beads on it. They say actually mount it right by the transmitter. I've tried it up in the air too. I don't have a problem with RF in the shack. I've got everything pretty thoroughly grounded, but you can do something like that. Now, you say AC and DC. Are you talking about like control lines and stuff like that? You can certainly have that there. G7VEO says good morning from across the pond. Good morning, by the way, there is, let's see, you guys change on May 31st. So it's 2 a.m. in Great Britain, if I've got that correct. Uda invented the theory. Yagi patented the design without crediting Uda. Well, Uda certainly gets credit. Uda was an assistant. And good evening, Dave, from hot and wet Ocala, Florida. I've been in Florida. I know how that gets. I have not received my July edition of QST. Did you guys get yours by mail? The online edition came out yesterday. It'll be another couple weeks before the mail editions get around. Glenn Martin from Far West in Missouri. Summit Racing, yes, that's the umbrella of DX Engineering. You actually go into Summit Racing, take a right, and there is DX Engineering. Okay, getting used to my new 6-band hex beam antenna. Needs to be more informative videos and antenna rotators, proper installation, aiming, and operation. Yeah, I had fun with that. In fact, I have right here, if I can find it. Well, it's not that. It's this. Here. This is my map, this azimuthal map that I've got one that shows the whole world, and it shows the directions from your location. If you go to look up this call sign, November Sierra 6 Tango, NS6T, and you can print this for where you are. This map changes dramatically on where you are in the United States. But note that I've got all these numbers around here, and the numbers show where I point the antenna with the rotator to get it to point that way. Now, a hex beam has basically a 90-degree wide pattern. Okay, so if you just get it in the right quadrant, you're doing okay. Mark Piran says, hi Dave, from Victor Alpha 7 Delta Lima Charlie, and has put $5 into the channel funds, and I think someone else has too, because there is, oh, that was Canadian 5. Says the revenue here is 1413. Hello from Ohio per Spike. Steve Ash says audio is very good, not overdriving. Okay, I think we've got it adjusted about right. I'm using the audio from the camera, the Logitech camera up here. Tennessee WW4 Triple L. Hi from Dom from Japan. Hello there. W5WES Baytown, Texas. The weather in Colorado sounds worrisome, with today's warning for extreme fire danger for the first time in 15 years. And yes, the western part of Colorado is in extraordinary drought, according to the Weather Service. The humidity outside right now, it's 81 degrees outside with 8% humidity. So it is dry as a tinderbox. David Fuller says, greetings from Missouri. The Southern Ohio from Michael Bailey, N8MRB. Gig Harbor, Q Alfred Hitchcock voice, good evening. The Smoking Ape, hello, how are you there? JT6188. VE paperwork is ready, just waiting for the database to update so I can submit. Very good. Sacramento, California, Bill Mungaven. Okay. I think my audio is clipping. Okay, I'm getting different reports. I'm going to back that off just a little bit more. Okay. Spike, yes, I live a half hour away from DX Engineering. Can get into some real trouble there. Yes. Let's see. Tim Backus is with us here. Made the live thing. Okay. Now, Greg Lopez adds $5 to the channel funds. He has a Masonic logo and a fireman's axe on the logo, so I get a feeling he's a fireman by trade and a Mason as his organization. Okay, let's go down here. It says, yes, lots of fires in the area. Utah is also very dry. So 5 after will officially start. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio, call sign KE0OG. It's Thursday evening, and welcome to the live stream. And the purpose of the live stream is to just gather and to answer questions. Sometimes we'll take some questions from the mail-in file, and sometimes just from the comment stream. The big announcement is about the ARRL. I have replaced Joel Hollis. He had the Doctor Is In column where he answered questions, and he has retired from that. And you'll notice that the last several months, QST has been running the Best Of series for the Doctor Is In. And they asked me in January if I would take over that column. But in addition to doing that, if with each column for one of the answers, if I would provide a video for that. And they will put that video, on QST online. So when you look at it online, you can go look at the video. There's a very good chance that video will also end up on my channel. So they have chosen to name the column Ask Dave. And so it's got the same name as the my channel. And the idea is to get a tie-in going between my channel and QST. So the 4 questions that I put together replies for the August column, and you're doing a magazine, you're doing everything weeks early to get the thing in. It's amazing how much trouble it is to put a magazine together. So am I getting paid for it? Yes, not a lot, but something. I'm certainly not going to make a living doing this. There is another form of cooperation in the works. Has not been announced yet, but it will further the line of taking advantage of assets that I have that the League wants to take advantage of. And I was quite flattered to be asked. I thought about it long and hard because, it's an extra time commitment. And there is the couple hours required to write the column, and then the hours and hours on review after review after review, and so on and so forth. Rest assured that the column is peer-reviewed at the League. So, and the peer reviewer found a mismatch in something on there, so I'm very glad for that. Okay, so as far as taking a picture of the globe with your camera at your own zenith there, that's where this real nice thing, this azimuthal map, I don't know who came up with the word azimuthal, but it sounds like something being mispronounced. It's from NS6T, and you can give any spot. And I did this one just so I could get United States coordinates in one, and then this one on the other side, the entire world. For example, Australia here is almost due west from me, where I'm located. Okay, so yeah, I am in here now, undertaking the column, the name change to Ask Dave, and so there's going to be kind of a mixture. There is the ARRL opened up an email address, which is Ask Dave with no hyphen, askdave@arrl.org. Where you can submit questions, and they'll come in here. And I will choose questions from that. I'll choose questions from sent to Ham Radio Answers or sent via my website. It's sort of like the one is an extension of the other. A lot of my recent videos have been directly answering people's questions, trying to kind of get ahead of the curve here. We're getting out to where I have videos as much as a week or week and a half in advance. They're already loaded on YouTube to be released one a day. We missed a day. We missed a day yesterday because we were in Salt Lake and I couldn't get hooked up with Callum to get things done, and so we ran out of videos that were up there. But for a while we've been doing pretty good at one video a day. The videos have widely varying view rates, quite wide. Some will go 5,000 or 6,000 views, others not so much, maybe 1,500, 2,000 views. But you know, send the questions in. I will be participating. You say the Doctor's In had a podcast as well. Yes, he did. I'm not going to be doing that podcast. I will be a guest on it from time to time. Also, the League wants me to attend 2 conventions a year. I'm guessing Dayton and Pacificon, since I'm already 2/3 of the way to Pacificon for the ARRL people. I am technically a let's see, which subject matter expert. I'm not a League employee, just subject matter experts. Okay, yeah, I know the little microphones here for the computer aren't all that fantastic. That is why I do not use them for recording videos. This is what I use to record videos. This is the transmitter of the wireless mic. It's made by Rode, and this is called Rode Link, and this is the receiver link, and then this goes into the recorder. And these two can be up to a couple hundred feet apart under ideal conditions. But you can't tell from the transmit end that it's getting through to the receive end correctly. One problem that I've had in doing a lot of videos is the batteries running out in these things, but I've noticed that these things have on the side little places where you can plug in a USB to power them. So I may do that. This is the recorder for the videos. It's a Tascam DR05, very common recorder for video work, YouTube work, and so on. And it's only about $100, and it works like a charm. It does a fabulous job. I record the audio cold, meaning not at a real high level. And this has got like 16-bit or something like that, so it can really get down on the audio. It has a linear curve rather than a log curve. And then I go into Audacity, and I limit it to get rid of the peaks, the peakiness. And then I compress it so that you get more even quality sound out of it, and also compressing it helps it sound louder even though it isn't really louder. And I get pretty high quality audio out of that, much better than what we're doing right now. Okay, and cause SPL increase. Why don't we we'll go ahead and take it down just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Always enjoyed Ask Dave. Have many of your videos saved to study each topic. Well, they're always available on YouTube. I have no plans to take any of the Ask Dave videos down. Yeah, the Great Circle maps, that's what these are. These show a great circle from your current location. Now, I will tell you that this part around the world if you move in your location, like from where I am in western United States, um, there, if you move it 1,000 miles or so, it completely changes the directions on everything else there. Now, I went to Salt Lake last week with my wife. We were desperate to get out of town. I call it pandemic madness. We've been vaccinated and everything is fine. We've been around, but we hadn't really gone anywhere. And we thought, well, where will we go? And basically, it didn't matter where we went. We just wanted to go somewhere. So I've got two sisters in Utah, so we thought we'd go to the Salt Lake KOA. And we did get to see one sister, had a wonderful evening with her. But it was 100 degrees, more than 100 degrees. Exceptionally hot for Salt Lake. And we were in the trailer, kind of locked in the trailer with the air conditioner running full blast, and it's very noisy. That air conditioner is very noisy. And so we actually left a day early, came back to Colorado, found a cooler spot to spend the night. But it was a whale of an interesting trip, I will tell you that. That's interesting. It looks like we've had as many as 333 people stopping in. Let's see. Tyler Bowman has a Kenwood THD74A. I think that is a VHF rig. When I power it up, it just beeps and will not allow me to transmit. The transmit inhibit is off. I have no idea what it may be. Check fuses, check your microphone connector. Try a different microphone, a different Kenwood microphone for it to see if there might be a break there. Let's see, Ham Radio Hobo says I was not that far from Ogden, Utah. Well, Ogden's a ways up the road. One of the things I kind of wanted to do, kind of had on my list to do, was to once again go up there and view the excellent Air Force Museum up at Hill Air Force Base, but we didn't venture out much at all. It was just too hot. We went to, let's see, Dick Blick Art Supplies, and so Loretta could shop there. She's an artist. It was just, supposed to be low-key, but it was low-key at a high temperature. Woo! And it's not on my end compared to other YouTube feeds. This one is hot. Not Hamcation. Hamcation is in Florida. I'll turn that down just a little bit there. Hamcation is in Florida, which is actually quite far from where I am in western Colorado. So it would make more sense for me to go to something on the west coast. Stayed at the KOA just northwest of Salt Lake City. Very nice park. Was surprised at the number of homeless around there. The one I was on West North Temple, and it's a huge KOA right next to a great big motel that has burned. So there are quite a few homeless downtown in Salt Lake City. Streams audios have not been this hot before. Well, I just turned it down again. So if it is, we'll just do it. We can do, let's see. Did you buy it new or used? This is asking Tyler Bowman a question. Bought it brand new. Ooh. Check with ICOM. If it's under warranty, you should be able to get that thing repaired or replaced. Okay, Ham Radio Crash Course is here. Hoshnazi, how are you? Was in Heber, Utah a few weeks back. Nice place. It's much higher in altitude. When I was at BYU getting my math degree there, I would go up to Heber as a way to escape the heat. Back then it was extremely rural. Heber Valley was mostly farms. There was a little bit of a town there. Now it's like all housing, and it's a commute city. People commute from Heber to Salt Lake. Oh man, 100 degrees was not fun. Dave, you should have called me Tom AF7J. Oh, COVID cabin fever. Headed to Pueblo, Colorado next Wednesday. Well, it's been hot and windy here. Yesterday when I flew, there was no wind. It was wonderful, wonderful day. It was hot. The density altitude was 7,000 feet, and the actual physical altitude is only like 5,200 feet. But the airplane takes off and does just fine. Okay, been debating whether to join the ARRL. To me, that's a simple answer is yes, do that. Ham Radio Hobo is in Ogden, Utah. Steve Brandon is visiting his son in Fort Irwin between Army duty and school. After he is out, he's studying your vids for tech. Well, very good. No wonder Utah's on fire. We actually didn't see any fires while we were there, but it was warm. Lifen, I agree with you. He needs to make use of the warranty there. It's a new machine. Enjoy being with sisters. My older sister had a major heart attack Monday. Ooh. Oh, please be in prayer for her. Yes, we'll keep her in our thoughts and prayers. Hope it's not too hot next week. The temperatures have been down, but still in the 90s. Okay, it says, I gotta ask, I saw one of your videos where you were putting up an antenna. You don't have a tower. I do not have a tower. The reason I do not have a tower is the expense. I actually had some participation in county planning for tower structures and things like that. What most people are concerned about is cell towers, but we've got a 35-foot automatic authorization for ham radio antennas. I wanted 50 feet, but they wouldn't give me 50 feet. I got 35. So, and you can file for an exemption if you want to go higher on the thing. I do not have a tower. There's a couple things beyond that too. The audience that I'm really focusing on are fairly new generals, and so there's a lot of stuff that's kind of focused on dipole antennas, running barefoot with a 100-watt rig, power supplies, things like that. When I get into a tower, far fewer hams have towers, and they're more advanced, and usually that's not always the fact, but it's so my hex beam is on what you could call, in fact I think the county would consider it, 20-foot tower. It's just a piece of aluminum pole, and not any aluminum pole, a Schedule 40 aluminum pole that holds that thing up there. The hex beam is not a small antenna, and I discovered that when I built it. MFJ sent me one to play with, and I put that thing up there. I had to get the pole. They sent me their bottom-of-the-line rotator, which works fine, by the way. And we got that thing up, and I needed some help. I had 3 or 4 guys come over and help me walk that thing up. In fact, a friend of mine built a special base for it that we could stake into the ground so it wouldn't move when we pushed the thing up. It was really something. That would be a big commute, yes, from Heber to Salt Lake City, or Denver to the Springs, yes. Without the expense, danger, resources, labor, and problems of a tower, right? Ron Joseph adds $5 to the chat revenue, a small token of appreciation for your great videos and contributions to the hobby from KC5RJL in Houston. Thank you very much. Denny Kelbaugh enjoys my videos. He has a question. He has the MFJ 2982 antenna. When going through the guanella balun with the ground wires connected and out at 90 degrees, let's find out what an MFJ 2982 is. I'm going to go to the screen, and we're going to go to MFJ Enterprises, and it's an MFJ 2982. MFJ 2982. I don't like their new website. Okay, it's a 31-foot wire vertical. Looks like, okay, a feather light, yeah. 600 watts, okay. So it's a vertical antenna. Looks like a nice antenna, about 120. This must be their fiberglass telescope. Yes, it is. The telescoping fiberglass mast. Okay, and they've got different things that you can use it for. I don't know where they come up with their recommended. I think this is a pure random number generator that does this. Why you would put an antenna like that with their little shortwave listening receiver, which is a neat little regenerative thing if you ever want to play with one. I've got one. I got it years ago. Okay, so now we know what that is. Okay, where is normal view? Okay, somehow I lost. There it is. I don't know if I'm online or not. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, I think I had a little problem. You know, there's this weird. I'm going to show you the screen again. There's a very strange. Oh, I don't know. Anomaly. There were up to 402 people watched at one point, and then it dropped off to the normal numbers. I don't know, somebody must have mentioned it or jumped in on it for a while. When going through the balun with the ground wires connected and out at 90 degrees, and he says, I can't get the SWR down below 10 using an antenna analyzer. However, when bypassing the balun, I can get them down below 3 and below. What could be the issue with this antenna? The first thing I think about is wiring or construction difficulty, and I would go over that quickly. I don't know why you would need a balun with a vertical antenna, because a vertical antenna is unbalanced inherently, so it's a beautiful thing to feed with coax. Now, the characteristic impedance of a vertical, full-length vertical, is about 30 ohms. So you're already looking at about a 1.6 SWR. Okay, you're not going to get better than that unless you put an actual transformer there, a transformer balun, to get that thing to fix. Okay, need to find a quiet remote station, not too expensive to operate from. Too much noise in Seattle. Well, it depends on what you consider expensive. There are online stations that you can rent, sometimes not too much. And Dragunov 308 passed his general at the local Hamfest on Saturday. Congratulations to you. Go look at the reference station at let's see, dcasler.com/reference, and it lists all the parts and pieces of a general station that you can put together and they'll work together. Okay, now you can because it is a reference design, you can depart from it in any way that you feel is appropriate, like a different radio or different antenna, whatever, so on. Okay, you are on. Yep, you're live. Okay, good. Yeah. How is the flying training progressing? I had an excellent lesson yesterday. I had a week, of course, without any flying while we went to Salt Lake. And during that period of time, I thought a lot about the problem I have of forgetting the flaps in the landing pattern. And I did much, much, much better with that yesterday. Did some landings that were completely unassisted, and that was very nice. Of course, there was no wind. That helps too, although we've done some landings in some hellacious winds. Okay, you live, never left. Good. I'm wondering why you have that balun there. Is that part of the antenna? I can't conceive of MFJ putting a balun on a vertical. Okay. Let's see. June VHF contest. Anyone planning on participating? Hope you do. That's something that techs can do. I really wanted to try the VHF contest on 2 meter, but have to work. Oh, dear. Looking forward to ARRL monthly articles. The very first one that was published yesterday was about just about me. They wanted an introductory article, so I did that. And then there was this next one for August that I had to submit final today or tomorrow. It was actually answering some questions. And since I didn't have any questions from the league, I just took some from the ham radio answers and answered them there. And what's interesting about it is that they actually, all of those answers, I believe, also have videos already up that I just made as part of the regular video type thing. Okay. Every time I drink tea, I get a stabbing pain in my eye, and the doctor told him to take his mixing spoon out of the cup first. Okay. Did ohm test everything okay? Can you still buy a power supply that provides filament and B+ for old transmitters? Not that I know of. I don't know of anybody providing that. The market is just too tiny. However, you can get them on eBay and stuff like that, or build one yourself. They're really, actually, there's not that much to them. You can get transformers from a company called Hammond, like the old Hammond organ, but this is different. They sell all different kinds of transformers, and you can get the transformer for the voltages you want. Remember sticker shock. There's a reason we've moved away from big transformers. They're heavy and they're expensive. So, yeah, the filament comes right out of the transformer. The B+ comes out at high voltage at 60 hertz and has to be rectified and filtered. Thoughts on putting a DX commander 10 feet away from my house? Give it a try. It's probably going to work pretty well. By the way, I'm having my assistant finish up the DX commander. Hopefully we will have the DX commander have some videos on it. I found you on a recommended page. Good. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it. Welcome Puff and Wiki and Kiwi. Puff and Kiwi. I see the camera in the background. Oh, this right here. Do you also like photography? Well, I've always played with the photo stuff, but I have found I've moved away from art photography many years ago to documentary photography, where I take a picture to put on my website, and by the time it gets there, it's got all sorts of annotations. I mean, even when I was doing all the motorcycle stuff, I'd say, you know, follow this trail, turn here, this kind of thing like that. And I still do that. This camera, however, which, by the way, was paid for with channel funds very early on, is a Panasonic Lumix DMC, which is a digital matrix camera or something like that. This is a G7. And the G7 is sort of, for many years, was the standard video camera used by YouTubers. It's very high quality. It will actually do 4K. I've never done 4K with it because I transmit or do my videos in HD. It's absolutely fabulous. When I had the studio set up, I was able to do the white balance correction actually in the camera. I had a preset for it in the camera. I've got a somewhat simpler setup now. It does everything that you would expect in a normal still camera, but it's really designed for videography. It's a mirrorless camera, so you're looking in here into a very high-res screen, and what you see in here is what you get. You don't have to worry about the exposure being right because you can see it instantly. And it's autofocus, although when I did it in the studio, everything was manual. Manual focus, manual exposure, manual everything like that. But it worked very, very well. Let's see, a wave to ham radio crash course. Let's see, we've got, if you take something out of line and it makes things better, then take it out and leave it out. Yeah, really. Best conditions on 20 meters in years, and they will continue to get better. Okay. And Denny Kelbaugh sends $5 for channel funds and says, "Thanks, Dave, I'm removing it." Hi, Dave. I have an opinion of the Hustler 6BTV 6-band HF vertical? Considering that I usually have an opinion on everything, I'm surprised I really don't have one on that. A lot of people, I think, abuse it by not putting in enough radials. It would benefit from radials. Some people try and use it without radials. It will transmit, but it's better with radials. Lots of people use that antenna. I've never tested one, but lots of people use it and think very highly of it. So I'll just pass that on. Not sure what the term Augie means. Okay. Right on the screen, right there. OG. That's the suffix on my call sign. And this is my logo for the channel, because the way YouTube does it, you have this little tiny logo down in the corner of your videos. It should be right about there. The little tiny logo, and I tried to put my call sign in there, but you couldn't read it. So I just took OG and added an exclamation point because that seemed like the right thing to do. And then YouTube came out. They have videos for content creators with suggestions, and they suggested that I create a name for the followers of the channel, and the name that came to mind immediately was Augie. Somebody who's following the OG channel was Augie. Came to find out that an Augie is a Welsh pastry, or Cornish pastry. I think Welsh pastry. It's not too bad being a pastry. At least it's somewhat sweet. But if you are a subscriber to the channel, you can consider yourself an Augie. And so I always start, "Hello, Augies worldwide." And by the way, worldwide is right. I have 75% of the viewers of this channel are in the United States, and the other 25% is split among about 100 countries. So you have people in India, and of course in the UK and Australia and so on. Says the only thing I would change from your reference station is from a 7300 to a 991A. I struggled over that decision. And the reason I went with the 7300, and by the way, I put my Yaesu FTDX 3000 up on the shelf and purchased an ICOM 7300 because the station I run is the reference station. And when I make a video about an HF rig or something like that, I'll use the reference station to do that. Okay, I've got a power supply over here for it, the Samlex power supply that's part of the reference station. Why do I need a new power supply? I don't. I've got solar power here. But I've got it because I want to have the reference station so I can make videos about it. And the reason I went with the 7300 was because at the time, and I think since, it's just been an enormously popular radio. So that did factor into the decision that many people buy the 7300. The FT991 is a fine radio, and that would be the alternate if you didn't want to get the ICOM, would be the FT991A. Make sure you get the A, and because the non-A model doesn't have the spectrum scope capabilities that the A model has. The 991A is technically still a super heterodyne, but that's okay. There are many very fine super heterodyne radios out there. The 7300 is fully SDR, but I mean, those are just features, okay? I've been very happy with the 7300, very happy. Now, the big advantage of the 991A is that it will do single sideband, CW, RTTY, FT8, etc. on 2 meters and 70 centimeters, as well as it will do FM on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Also, it does it on 6 meters and 10 meters, but nobody really uses that very much. So that's why I went that way. Any thoughts about mounting an end fed under the eaves about 18 inches away from the stucco? That would work fine. I realize this may block some signal. No, you're fine doing that. And I would mount the balun for the my antennas. I'd mount it a couple feet away from the house, because you'll find that if you do that, the chicken wire and the stucco will start to become part of the antenna. And you only need to get about 3 feet away to really cut down on that. Yeah, let's see. Been building antennas and simple radios. Can't wait to get licensed and get on the air. Well, do that. Do that. Go ahead and do that. Heard Russia 2 nights ago from up here in North Dakota in 20 minutes. We're at the bottom of the solar cycle. The next 3 years are going to be a wild ride. Okay. Can you use Cat5e cable as radials? Yes, you can. The current that is in the vertical part of the antenna is the same current that goes out into the radials. So if you have an amp and you have 1,000 radials, the amount of current in each radial is a milliamp. Okay, so you can use very thin wire for your radials if you've got lots of radials. Okay, let's see, let's break 100 likes. Just want to see Dave hit 100K subscribers. I want that plaque from YouTube. I remember when Hoshinazi got his, he celebrated that. Oi, 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 let's see. Love my 7300. It is a wonderful radio. 991A versus the FTDX10. You can expect the FTDX10 to take over pretty much everything. The 991A has been in Yaesu's arsenal for years. And the FTDX10 is new. It's still not fully SDR. It's got superhet stuff in it. But I would love to get a hold of an FTDX10 just to test it. Yeah, 7300s are so prevalent. Yes. HF rigs in tight supply. Seems sub 2,000 units are out of stock everywhere. How long do you think cycle 25 will last? We're good for 6 or 7 years, and then those last few years kind of gets dismal. How long? Hope to buy a 7300 before it's over. The problem that we're having is the world's supply chain is based on, because it's international trade, there's no single regulatory authority that says you can't have just one plant that makes a certain type of IC. And so you find, for example, Russia found this when the USSR split up and Estonia became its own country. They took with it all the tube manufacturing in the USSR because the Russian central planning thought it was most efficient to have just one plant building something. And so that's why you get your tubes from, I think it's Estonia. And they make all kinds of tubes now because they're on the world market. They're not just servicing the USSR, they're servicing the world. Disk drives are made in Bangkok. Very few disk drives made elsewhere. And when Bangkok had some flooding a few years back, disk prices doubled practically overnight. You think of a chip as something that's made in one place. It's not necessarily the case. You get the chip shell from one place, the shell top from another place. You get the contents from another place, and the contents may have additional components in it. These are called hybrid circuits. And also they make, let's see, reprogrammable logic chips and so on. They come from all over the world. When the Fukushima nuclear disaster happened, there was, in that earthquake, one semiconductor plant inland a little ways that went offline for a few months because of the earthquake destroying its equipment. The problem is that chip that little factory makes is in every single automobile worldwide. And it hit, seriously hit production. Fortunately, it was a fairly simple thing. They got the thing back up online. There was enough in the supply chain to kind of hurt. But right now, you've got hundreds of Ford F-150s lined up outside the plant waiting for one chip. Not the same chip, but waiting for one chip. And Intel jumped in and said they'd make that chip. It's a foreign chip. They'd make that chip. But it takes a while to put a fab together. Fabs can take years to build, and You've got to get the process right. I mean, just because you've got all the parts and pieces doesn't mean the process works. There's some seriously tunable chemistry that has to go on in there. And that's what's happened. A lot of places couldn't staff because of the coronavirus. And now that people are coming back from the coronavirus, the labor force has shrunk. There's a real problem here in the U.S. trying to get restaurant workers in tourist spots. Nobody wants to work for that low wage. So it's just been very, very strange. Since a flat piece of steel makes a great ground plane, wouldn't a disc be like an infinite number of radials? Yeah, you can use a disc. That would work. Saw your video in setting up APRS and Anytone 878 and was convinced to buy the radio. Good. Yeah, it's kind of an expensive radio, but it's sure a nice radio. Make sure you get it from Bridgecom Systems because they are the authorized distributor in the U.S. Now, China does business a little differently than we do. Just because you've got a single authorized source doesn't mean that all the 878s sold in the U.S. are actually from that source. But if you want warranty support and you want training on it, you can get that from Bridgecom Systems. See, David bought the Ameritron AIS 500 new, same as you. 50-watt drive, blew the transistors. Came within less than a week. Wow. I use 62 watts to drive mine. There's a process you go through to find out how much drive you want to put on it. Why aren't there many all-band, all-mode rigs? 2-meter single sideband, 70-centimeter single sideband should be a thing. Yes, it should. Absolutely. But what do most people do? They do FM. Now, with your tech license, you can do these so-called weak signal modes. Now, this is a slang thing. Argot, whatever you want to call it, inside a ham radio. You've got two kinds of modes on VHF, 2 meters, 70 centimeters. There's FM, and then there are weak signal modes. That does not mean the mode is got a weak signal. That's just the name that people have given all the other modes other than FM on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. But there's FT8. You can do FT8 on your 7300 or 991 or most any rig, HF rig. FT8 on 6 meters. The only work I've ever done on 6 meters is FT8, and got some incredible results on those things. Back in the 60s, the leaders wanted interdependence rather than independence. Didn't work. True free market is better. The problem with the truly free capitalist market is that it aims for efficiency. Efficiency. The single plant, just in time, things like that aims for efficiency. That's great until you have a disaster. And that's what we've had kind of with the pandemic here, and where there's only a single source for a product, and something happens to the single source, like those floods in Bangkok, then all of a sudden all that fancy free market stuff falls apart. Now, if they had floods every year in Bangkok, something that the market could plan for, sure, you'd be fine. But these were like once-a-century floods, and something they had just not planned for. They were not ready for. They had no way to move that amount of water. And that's what happened, and that's what's happening with the COVID thing right now. First radio, and it wasn't a Baofeng. Yeah, okay, the 7300s are sold out. The chip plant burned to the ground, fall 2019. Well, there's a lot of emphasis right now, a lot of people talking about supply chain. And so you're going to start seeing some balancing acts, and you're also going to see some government intervention for companies like Intel. And the way they're going to do it is they're going to say, you sell to the government, Okay, we, the government, will not buy from you unless you have 2 plants making it. Okay, and that will end up carrying over into commercial because there's such an overlap there. You'll see some of that, and then we'll forget, and go back to the way we're doing it right now. Ranger Smith is talking about not enough incentive to go back to work. There's 2 things going on here. One, yes, you can earn as much on unemployment as you can going back to work, which would indicate to me that a lot of places pay too little. If the real economic value is so high, why aren't they paying more? On the other hand, too, a lot of people who started working from home started thinking like I did about retirement. And they're running the numbers and going, I can retire. That's what happened to me. That's why I retired in 2013. Okay, because I looked at the numbers and go, I can do this. And now I get to play with radio and do my YouTube channel and so on. I work in a fab. Starting a fab is rough. Equipment made to order takes time to build, needs skilled maintenance techs, maintain equipment operators, and design engineers. Yes, it is not easy and it is very expensive. It said one reason I went 7300 is that there's nobody on the weak signal modes. Okay. 9700 is in my future. That's an expensive way to go. If you think you're going to go that way, get the 991. The 7300 screen is nice. I love the screen capture capability. I use that for videos. COVID proved just in time is too sensitive to disruption, and that is true. This is John EA8, which is Spain. G4STA, which is UK. Is there a limit on the amount of text one can send on live chat? I think there is. Free market is too brittle in general. It is brittle. But then you've got this problem. So the DoD makes you build 2 plants. What happens when the technology changes? You got 2 obsolete plants instead of 1 obsolete plant. So you can build. I can remember growing up that if I couldn't find something on a store shelf, I'd go find an employee and say, do you have more in the back? And very often they would. Now, of course, there is no back. The food comes straight in out of the truck and goes to the shelf. And where we live here in the Western Slope, if the Eisenhower Tunnel is closed for any reason, snow slide or something like that, an avalanche, our vegetables disappear. Just like that. Because there is no storage, no local storage. Jeff Kahn, one video has added $10 to channel funds. Thank you. 73 from K3DHJ. So you've gotten struck by lightning. I have. What's worse is doing a belt on a power dump diesel. Took 3 months to get my 7300 after I ordered it. Spike, it is a Harley Davidson. A ham radio crash course. Can I retire yet? You know, Oceanazi, you've got a lot more subscribers than I do. And I'm finding that between my Social Security and the video channel, I'm okay. I can afford to go out and take flying lessons. And I've often wondered, since you've got so many more subscribers, why you haven't retired, because I know you have a horribly long commute. Let's see, shortages happen once in a while in free markets, yes. Centrally planned economies, you've got that problem. You build that one factory to make electron tubes, and they start making those electron tubes, and they'll pump out 1 million of them real cheap. But when somebody needs a new electron tube, it takes forever to get the plant spun up for it. And so, if you look inside companies like IBM, I worked for IBM for many years. It is a centrally planned economy inside the company. They have to plan. They've got to allocate money years in advance. In Boulder, when floppy disks were a thing, remember floppy disks? They built a big plant in Boulder to make floppy disks. The little 5.25 5-inch floppies, whatever they were. They made a plant to build it. And once they got it built, they ran the numbers and shut it down immediately. Because what looked like a good business plan a year and a half before was a lousy business plan. They could not make the floppy disk cheap enough to compete with the ones coming out of Taiwan and Japan. This was kind of before China was a thing. Yeah, we don't have economic centralism, thank goodness. We're all going here. Let's see. ARRL net in 3 minutes. Well, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. I lived right out of the Eisenhower Tunnel once. Gold something town. Trying to remember which town that might be. U.S. Navy pre-World War II purchasing requirement is why all cars and trucks use 12-volt DC and negative ground electrics now. You are seeing some coming out with 24-volt because the wiring can be thinner for that. And an old Jeep that I had, a CJ2A, which was the first civilian model Jeep after World War II, was a 6-volt system. Let's see, Ray Novak mentioned it to me. Okay, well, I haven't talked to Ray in ages. What are your recommendations to reach a long distance with my VHF UHF HD 878? Should I go to a Hilltop, get a Yagi? You can get a Yagi real cheap for that. Go to either Arrow antennas or Diamond antennas. Both are carried by DX Engineering and HRO. And get yourself a 3 or 4 element beam. Remember, for FM work, should be vertically polarized, and that means the Yagi's up and down. Yes, I have that beam just the other side of the wall here. It's not up right now, but it does work. Isn't it risky these days to buy a tube amp instead of solid state? Seems tubes will disappear. Well, we're having a problem with that already. A lot of the better amps were made with iMac tubes. It's an American-made brand, very high-quality tubes. They've decided that we're going to drop the amateur market and just sell the bigger tubes, like to television stations and stuff like that. So now you can't get the iMac tubes. Now, you can get some Bulgarian equivalents to those tubes, and a lot of the MFJ amps have got a Bulgarian source on the tube. So yes, they are going to go the way of the Dodo. But the problem is, right now, the economics is kind of still on the side of the tubes. But I'm glad I've got a solid state amp. It's only 500 watts, but it does work. 250 megabyte zip drives. I remember those. I remember some zip drives. They were huge. They were insertable into a drive. Bernoulli was a great investment in the day. Yes, yes. Yeah. Chip shortage is sitting everywhere in the market. Thousands of vehicles that are made but can't be started because they have no chips. You remember recording my basic programs on audio tape through an analog cable? Oh my goodness. My first computer, I got it while I was in the Air Force, was a Radio Shack Model 1. And it recorded to an audio cassette tape using a regular tape recorder, and it was just an audio sound. And the reliability on those things was horrible. you record something on tape, you might be able to use it once. Okay, let's see, we're talking about vehicles. Oh, well. Okay, let's see, this is from Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG, who adds $10 to the channel funds and says, thanks, Dave, for all you do. Keep up the good work. Okay, I have an HT question. Are all of the Baofeng UV5R models prone to spurious transmitting? Yes. Or are some models okay? No. I'm less concerned about legal, more about proper operation. They make a new radio now, and I did it was actually Radioddity that sent it to me, although it's labeled Baofeng. It is a UV5R, but it has a revamped RF section with revamped filters. And I did a video on this fairly recently, and I put it on my spectrum analyzer, and it was clear as day why everybody hates the UV5R for all its spurious responses and harmonics, whereas the new radio, all that bad stuff just went away. And I was looking all over for for that radio today. I couldn't find it. I've got it hidden somewhere because I wanted to do some stuff on video with it. But the price on it seems to be remarkably flexible. It went up right after I did my video. But it has done away with those spurious things coming out. Otherwise, it's identical to and uses the same code plug as the UV5R. Tube market is so bad that, yeah, big cooling issues running a 10 kilowatt carrier. Why? Why on 27 megahertz would you do that? If you can get through it all on 27 megahertz, you don't need a 10 kilowatt amplifier. What about alternative chip tube suppliers like Russia? They buy from Intel like everybody else. Tubes, we've got Estonia and we've got Bulgaria who make tubes. Commodore 64 to audio. Oh man, this is a trip down memory lane. Yeah. We used a Commodore with audio tapes for program. Reminds me of the old Commodore 64. Wow. Wow. Radioddity has a modified UV5R that fixes those issues. Yes. And I'm trying to remember, it's a GS5R or something like that. I did a video on that. Let me look in Studio here. Go over to screen, and I'm going to search across my channel for UV5R. Here it is. Dump the UV5R and get the GT5R. Okay, the GT5R, it looks identical to the UV5R. In fact, it'll take the same code plug, or whatever you call it, programming, whatever. And I was able to transfer all the information from my UV5R into the GT5R. And there are a couple extra features in there, and they will come out with a new piece of software for it. But the radio was like $25 when I reviewed it, and it went up as high as $75 within a week. So they got a problem. They said they got caught flat-footed. They didn't have stock. So, yeah, I know Isaac Newton, recording on audio tape is not very different from the many digital modes we use in handbands. However, the way they were implemented on those early computers was awful. Absolutely awful. Let's see. Would like an SST USB demonstration. Just tune to 14, is it 14235? I've got my considerate frequencies operator guide here somewhere. Anyway, there's specific channels, there are specific frequencies where you'll get slow scan TV. And there's a piece of software made by a guy in Japan. It's free software that will receive any of those. There are many different formats for transmitting, and this will receive in all of them. So you can just tune to that. It's 14232 something. Somebody correct me on that. Okay. Never had a problem. Yeah. Okay. Oh, the audio CDs, yes. Mentioning the GT5R, friend bought one to the shop for me to program for him. Yeah, RT Systems will do that. Probably Chirp, just use the UV5R for that. 14230, thank you. That's the frequency where you will find on upper sideband. Just put your radio on that frequency and listen, and you'll hear this weird wait, and it'll be somebody sending something there. And then you need to get the software, and I'm forgetting the name of what that Japanese software is. It's really, really capable. I don't have it on this right here. MMSSTV, thank you. MMSSTV. Also SSTV webcams, yes, you can use your own webcam. Now, there is a misconception about slow scan TV. It's not television. It's not slow scan. It's single image fax. And people send images to each other. And unfortunately, with the software and everything, people will send images to each other until they run out of images, and that's the end of it there. Okay. SSTV webcams, yes. Okay. Go with the Hustler. Only had problems with the first 6. Number 7 worked more than a decade. Okay. Dave, what do you think of the CHA250B? It is a vertical HF. I don't know what I did wrong with Chameleon. I went out to the Reno Hamfest a couple years ago, and that's where they're located, in Reno. And they let me interview them and take video in their little manufacturing facility and everything like that. And they were going to give me something to review. And then they said, well, we'll give it to you after the show is over, because we're showing it at the show, at the Hamfest. And then at the end of the Hamfest, we'll mail you something. And then I inquired a few months later, and they said, well, we really don't have anything for you. So, okay. If there is something from Chameleon, I have their P-loop here. That works fine. Although you have to be sitting right by it to use it. If there is something like a Chameleon vertical or something like that that you think I should get with channel funds, I'll do that and give it a good review and see what we can do with that. We are over time. And thank you all very much for your support. Thank you for your forgiveness for not being here last week. I appreciate your kind words about the new arrangement with QST. And gosh, I never thought I'd be a columnist in QST. And we will meet again next week. Same time, same place. I'll set up that live stream right now so that it's on the schedule and can be seen. And I appreciate everybody being here. And keep those questions coming. You can send the questions to hamradioanswers@gmail.com or go to KE0OG.net. That's .net/ask-Dave. And there's a form there you can fill out. But you can't attach anything to it. You can attach to it if it's sent to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. Also, now you can send your questions to AskDave no hyphen at ARRL.org, not .net, but .org. And those find their way to me here. And I will probably continue making videos from all the questions and then picking kind of a best of for each month's column for that. Says, okay, what do you want to homebrew? Oh, lots of things. Okay, well, 73s to all, and we will see you in the next week. And until then, have a great summer, stay cool, and hopefully you won't be around fires or floods or whatever. The weather is getting weird. And see you next time. 73.